Welcome to Career Uprising. I'm your host and professional career coach, Lorraine Rise. Join me as I guide you through an amazing journey of self-discovery and empowerment. If you are looking for work, changing careers, or stuck in a toxic job, then this is the show for you. I offer both practical and spiritual guidance to help you up-level and advance your career. Let's start the uprising. Hey everybody, you are listening to episode 21, Interviewing with Confidence. Hello out there. My loyal listeners, how are you guys doing? I love you guys. I'm Lorraine Rise, if you don't know me that well yet, so thank you for joining in and listening today. So this is a little show, as you might know, where we talk about pretty much all things related to your career. Job searching, career transitions, toxic jobs, finding your passion and your purpose in life, whatever it may be. We talk about all things career related here. So I'm back now. If you've been listening from my little excursion to Idaho and Utah, did a little bit of traveling, a little bit of time with my family. So I didn't have a new episode for you guys last week. I'm sorry, but I'm back with a fresh topic and I'm so excited. So it's good to take a little bit of time off every now and then. And I have to tell you guys, I saw the most beautiful mountains I have ever seen. And for a small town person like me in Virginia, where it's fairly flat, this is a really big deal. So to be specific, I saw the Rocky Mountains for the first time ever in my life, and they were simply breathtaking. I'm a little bit jealous of people who live out west and have those gorgeous mountain views every day. It was so beautiful. So Virginia is beautiful too, but it's just so different. So it was great for me to get out. Change is a good thing. Absolutely. But I'm back home now and I'm ready. And I have a little bit of a new format here to the show, as you are probably going to notice if you keep listening in the next couple of weeks. I'm kind of keeping things fresh here, but I want to deliver this show to you guys for as long as I possibly can, because it brings me such great joy to deliver it to you. And I know that it's making a difference and it's really helping people. And I know this because you tell me, which I love and appreciate so much. So, but along those lines then, thus to make it a little bit more sustainable for me and maybe even more high value for you, I think we're going to scale it back a little bit. So I'm going to have a little bit of a new format. We're going to do a little bit shorter shows. They're probably going to be more around 25 minutes or so, and they are going to be pre-recorded. But this is a good thing because now I can really be here for the long term, bringing you this show. And you're kind of going to get, I would say, more really get to the point, high value kind of nuggets of information. And I think really too in today's world, we're so busy, and those kind of short, bite-sized little pieces of information sometimes are a little bit more digestible, a little bit more effective. So I think it's going to be a win-win for everyone. So whether you're brand new or you've been listening since the inception about 6 months ago, I thank you for listening. And I'm so excited about the topics that I have coming up and just all of the fresh changes we have to the show. So I think you're going to love it. And speaking of new things as well, I have a big announcement. So we've got something big happening here with the family at Inflow Radio. I am taking part in an amazing live event that is happening very soon from the time this show airs. So September 9th. So if you are kind of listening pretty close to real time here, September 9th, 2018 is coming up really soon. And this event is called High Vibe with Inflow Radio. It's a live event. And you can watch it online. You can interact with me and all of the hosts of Inflow Radio. This is big, you guys. I'm excited. So it's taking place in person if you want to attend in the LA area. But you can also just watch the Facebook live stream from absolutely anywhere. And I'm going to be streaming it to my personal Facebook page. So if you haven't friended me yet, if you're not kind of in my Facebook community, now would be the right time to do so. You can just find it under my name, Lorraine Rise, Rise. And this is a one-time only, as far as I know. I don't know if we're ever going to do this again. I hope so. But it's a one-time live event and a chance to interact with me and get your questions answered from everyone on the Inflow Radio team, all of the hosts. So happening September 9th. To get more details, go to Facebook to connect with myself as well as inflowradio.com, their Facebook page as well. We've got actually a special Facebook event that we have created that you can kind of RSVP and get all the details for. So I hope to see you there September 9th. I'm really, really excited about it. Okay. All right. So let's get on to today's topic. We are talking about interviewing with confidence. And I do quite a bit of interview coaching in my practice, and it is my joy and my pleasure to do so. I really, really love it. And I think that I'm pretty effective at it. And I come from a really personal standpoint here because interviews are something that used to really be a challenge for me when I was more in my job searching days. They really used to make me nervous. And I really had this just idea that I think a lot of people have, that you have to sell yourself, right? We hear that a lot. So if you struggle with that concept and you feel like you have to sell yourself to employers or job interviews make you nervous, I can tell you this is a common struggle for a lot of people. It can be overcome. And I've got some really, really actionable tips and kind of insider information from someone who's done a lot of hiring that I think is going to really, really help you in your next interview. And personally, I believe my philosophy here is that the best interview is the authentic interview. So I'm going to challenge that traditional theory and say, rather than selling yourself, I just want you to be yourself. And yes, you can actually do that and still get the job. A lot of people don't feel like they're free to do that. So we're going to make that the focus of today's episode. And I'm going to really reveal to you what employers are really looking for, because it might not be what you think it is, and how you can really position yourself for the job that you want. And so I want to start out the discussion today by saying that I think that most interview questions are complete garbage. They really are. I mean, there's a lot of really stupid interview questions out there. Let's just be completely honest. I don't like the one about where do you see yourself in 5 years? As if any of us really know, or if we're necessarily even going to be honest. That's not one that I have asked people, and I've done a ton of interviewing. Or how about this one? If you were an animal, what would you be? That one's even worse. And you might laugh, but I actually know somebody who was asked that question. That is a real interview question, unfortunately. So what I think you need to keep in the back of your mind here is that most people who are conducting job interviews have not been formally trained in how to interview. They're kind of winging it. At the best, they may have been given a few, templates or sample questions to ask, but they have not really been trained in how to do this and what are the most effective strategies and questions to ask. They're really just a manager who is taking time away from what they do best and from their operations to conduct this interview. It's not really what they know. And I think if you remember that, it gives it some context, and hopefully you can be a little bit forgiving when they ask you questions that are complete garbage. It's just true. So I think naturally some people are going to be just more skilled at interviews than others. But I say this because I want you to kind of remember that's why you get some of these curveball questions. But let's also talk here about what the purpose of the interview really even is, right? Because the objective of the interview is pretty different than the objective of the resume. And I have to coach clients on this quite a lot. Okay, so the resume is much more about just kind of your hard skills and your just basic job qualifications. Okay, so do you have the right degree? Do you have a steady employment history? You know, so just they're just kind of checking boxes to make sure you have the basic things that they are looking for. But the interview is about soft skills and emotional intelligence and personality and cultural fit. These are things that cannot be measured on a resume, which is really just a piece of paper, right? That's all it really is at the end of the day. They're assessing your confidence, your communication skills, and so on. And they're literally looking at you and thinking to themselves, do I want to work with you every day? Do I like you? Even if they don't actually say those questions, that is what they are thinking. Okay. So it goes so far beyond just, can you do the job? Because by the time you've been called in for an interview, they already know you can probably do the job. They wouldn't have called you in for an interview if they didn't think that you could probably do the job, right? Because they've already read your resume, probably your LinkedIn and things like that, maybe even your Facebook. So they already know a little bit about you, and they're not going to waste their time interviewing people who don't meet the basic qualifications. So go beyond that and know that when you are in the interview, they are assessing you personally, and they are looking to see if they like you. Sorry, but that's true. I mean, it's human nature. And they want to know, can they work with you every day? Because that's what it's going to mean for them. That's what they're investing in, is you as the person. So an interview is completely different than the resume. The interview is about soft skills and building a rapport, making a connection, and likability. Okay. And I think it's a game changer when you keep that in the back of your mind as you are interviewing and conversing with them. And remember what they are actually assessing of you. Okay. It's not just your responses to the questions. It's kind of some of those subtle, unspoken cues that they pick up from you. Okay. So here's what also, to kind of expand on what I was talking about earlier, here's what the purpose of the interview is not. Okay. The purpose of the interview is not to sell yourself to an employer. And I think this is probably the biggest misconception about interviews. Is people say, I don't know how to sell myself to the employer. Well, good news, you don't have to. You don't need to sell yourself. You need to be yourself. And I'm going to tell you why, okay? Because, you want to get a job that you are aligned with, that is right for you, that you're going to be happy at. And if you act like someone else and just try to impress them, is that going to happen? No. And it just also puts too much pressure on you as the job seeker to impress them and try to say all of the right things and answer all of those garbage, trick questions that they're asking you. You will perform your best if you are relaxed and authentic. All right. I want you to go in and be comfortable and be you. Yes, of course, you need to be professional and exercise common sense. But if you're going to get a job that is aligned with your true, authentic self, don't you have to show that person? Of course, right? So, yes, there's a balance to be found between, some best practices, do's and don'ts, and then just totally being somebody that you're not because you just need a job. And believe me, I've been there. Okay. I've taken a first job that comes along, and it was a horrible, horrible cultural match. I think I've talked about it quite a bit in past episodes. So I speak from experience on this, that you, trust me, want to be yourself and follow your intuition. Okay. And if someone doesn't want to hire you for who you truly are, do you want to work for them? No, you don't. You think you do. I know you need a paycheck, but trust me, you don't. All right. So let's get into here the top 4 things that employers are actually screening for. All right. I've already kind of said this one. Number 1 is personality. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but 75% of an interview is about personality. And there's a lot of things that go into this. How you're dressed, eye contact, confidence. Do you have a firm handshake? All right. What kind of questions do you ask? Do you speak intelligently? Your body language. There's a lot of things that go into this. Sense of humor. All right. It's basically, how do you present yourself? So be thinking about that on the phone and in person when you are interviewing. Are you conveying a likable personality? Are you easy to get along with? All right. Number 2, motivation. So why do you want that job? What they're looking for is that you are interested in that company and you don't just want a job. All right. So, and what motivates you to perform well on the job? Is it money? Is it praise? Is it just, learning and developing? Is it helping others? Be clear on what motivates you, because they're looking for someone who has motivation that matches what would motivate someone to be successful in that role. All right. Number 3, research and company knowledge. So again, are you familiar with this company? Are you not just looking for a job, but you actually have a genuine interest in this company? And did you take the time to learn anything about them? They may even start out by asking you the question, what do you know about our company? Because again, they're assessing cultural fit. So they want to know if you know a little bit about the company and could potentially fit in with their mission and their values and their work style and that type of thing. Okay. And then number 4, the 4th thing that employers are screening for is competency. And this sounds a little bit silly or obvious. Like, of course I'm competent. We're all competent. But what I mean is emotional intelligence. Okay. Intellectual intelligence is great. Okay. It's great to be smart, but it is not everything. And it only gets you so far. And this is something I believe so passionately in. All right. Employers want someone that is competent, that is serious about the job and the company, and they're going to stay on board. So what is emotional intelligence? All right. So emotional intelligence is kind of like your ability to function well in the world. So you can handle criticism. You can take appropriate risks. You can communicate and form relationships constructively. You can express yourself. You can cope with change and difficulty. These are kind of those intangible characteristics that are very, very underrated, but they are actually the markers of success and what makes leaders and visionaries and CEOs so successful. It is not their intellectual intelligence and their IQ. It is their emotional intelligence. I promise you. One great way to kind of sum this up is I had a recruiter that I was talking with one time state his philosophy and how he hires. And I loved it. He had a little rhyme. He said, I look for skill, but hire for will. Look for skill, but hire for will. What does that mean? That means, yes, obviously we want someone who has the knowledge and the skill, but at the end of the day, we're going to hire someone who has the will, the ability, the motivation, and the drive. Those are the intangibles. So that's emotional intelligence and competency. Okay. Those are the things that are so much harder to train on. I can train somebody to learn about the products and services and learn how to do something, but I can't train you really to be a better person. Right? That's really what it comes down to. And that's why emotional intelligence is so hard to capture sometimes, but so desirable. So, all right. So there you have it. The top 4 things that employers are screening for. And one other kind of myth or misconception that comes to mind for me is a lot of people think that the interviewer is out to get you, that they want you to fail. And they're just intentionally being hard on you. They're out to get you with those stupid trick questions. And they're just trying to be as difficult and mean as possible. And let me tell you, this could not be further from the truth. This is completely false. The person interviewing you actually really wants you to succeed. They do. They would love it if you were the ideal candidate that just kind of swooped in and fixed their problems, because they really do want to fill this position. They really do. And so the reason why they ask tough questions is just they're trying to be thorough. They're trying to get to the best person, but it's not because they want you to fail or anything like that. So to take that off of your mind and take the pressure off and know that A, they might just not be that great of an interviewer, and B, they're just trying to get to the best candidate, okay? And they're trying to do it the best way that they know how. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. But all right, so let's go quickly here through some of the most common interview questions that are still floating around out there that I think you need to be prepared for. Okay, so number one, tell me about yourself. Very general, open-ended question, and you need to have a succinct answer for it. Okay, just a couple of minutes. Keep it focused on professional aspects of yourself. Tell them a little bit about your past, your present, and your future. But tell me about yourself is very common, and you need to know how to answer that. All right. Why do you want to work for us is a common one. What are some of your major strengths? What's one of your weaknesses? Yes, those questions are still out there. Unfortunately, the where do you see yourself in 5 years? I don't like that one, but you might get that one. And then those are more open-ended ones, but be prepared for specific ones that kind of reach into your past. Tell me about a project that you worked on that didn't go as planned, or maybe tell me about a time when you had a conflict with a coworker. How did you handle it? They want to know specific examples of how you have handled challenges in the past. Okay, so have some specifics ready to go. And conflict is a big one. Definitely have some examples of how you have handled conflicts, whether it was with a customer, boss, coworker, anything like that. That's going to be really critical. Okay. So then, of course, you also want to ask a couple of questions as well, right? This is a two-way conversation. So a couple of just really quick tips before we wrap up here of questions that you should be asking the employer. I would say first, stay away from anything related to, pay and benefits and the work schedule. Sorry, I know it's tempting and those questions are on your mind, but please try to save those questions for later in the process, probably a second interview or even at the time of an offer being made. But better, perfectly safe questions would be, questions about the company culture. What do you can ask them, what do you like about working here? How would employees describe the company culture? What can you share with me about the company's strategic plan over the next couple of years? That's kind of like your version of the where do you see yourself in 5 years question. You're kind of turning it around on them a little bit. And then I would say, you could say maybe tell me about the goal setting or performance evaluation process. How will my performance be evaluated in this role? Something like that. So stay away from the pay and the benefits and all that for the time being, and just focus on the company culture and the specifics of the role. Okay. So, and one other thing I would say too is if you haven't joined my email community yet, you should, because I actually have a guide, kind of like a little ebook that I made called Strategies for Interview Success. And it goes through a lot of things that I just shared, but actually in even more depth. And there's a whole list of questions that you can be prepared for, more questions that you can ask the employer. It goes into even more depth. And you can actually get that as a free PDF guide. It's a free gift when you opt into my email community. So if you want to get that, go to worksmartcounseling.com/sign up and you'll get it right away. It's called Strategies for Interview Success. Okay. So that's it for my first little kind of, mini episode number 21. As always, it is my honor and my pleasure to serve you guys in this way. So I will say, if you like what you hear, consider working with me and taking your career to the next level with a coach. So you can find me at worksmartcounseling.com. I'm also on Facebook with my group, Career Uprising. But I will be back, you guys, next week with a fresh topic. So until then, go out there and be brave and confident when you interview. All right? I'll talk to you guys next time. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard today, please consider giving the show a positive review on iTunes. It would mean a lot to me, and it would help to spread the word so that others can learn about the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to connect with you again next time on Career Uprising.
This show is brought to you by InflowRadio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.